All right, now listen, Golf Channel on the television, golf club in hand. Just haven't had a chance to get to do a little window shopping at Dick's Sporting Goods or Golf Galaxy. I love walking around those places, and they're going to be busy because everybody wants to play like a pro. But you know what? You can only dream of that. But the one guy who is a pro when it comes to covering golf, the host of the golf show every Saturday at 7, 93.7 The Fan, he is none other than Mike Dudurich, and he's with me on the Comcast Sports Line. Now, this is what we now know. In at 7 under, you have got Fleetwood, Casey, Harman, and Koepka. At 6 under, Ricky Fowler just finished. He's there, one shot back, as is also Jamie Lovemark. So there you have it, folks. That's just a quick look. So just observations overall, Michael, and then I'm going to bring up some points that I kind of put together for you to mull over. So good evening, and round 2 just about in the books.
It is, and thanks for having me, Rob. Always a pleasure to talk to you. My observations are that I really believed that after the 65 that Ricky Fowler shot yesterday, the USGA would not allow that to happen today by their moving pin positions around, moving tees back, and they did that. But the course there was no rain, no substantial water on it overnight, and as a result, it's firmer, it's faster, and the guys have been able to score again. Not as prolifically as they did yesterday. Hideki Matsuyama shot 65 after shooting 74 in the opening round, so that vaults him into the top 10. But there have been plenty of scores in the 60s, and it's a bunched leaderboard, more so than normal, I think. Nobody was really sure what they were going to get from Aaron Hills. SGA, it always gets a little antsy when you start talking about under par scores at the U.S. Open. They don't like that. They want it to be right around par.
All right, now, I just got through watching the Southern California Golf Association YouTube site, and a guy who won the California Amateur, who's a rookie playing in his first Open, Xander Schauffele, he finished round 2, and he now is at 5 under. Tell me about this young man. On Herald Standard you write for, and folks, pay for it, get it, and you can subscribe online and read the best golf columnist anywhere in Western Pennsylvania. He'll be writing his column tonight. It'll be there tomorrow as far as his observations at the halfway point of the U.S. Open. They call it moving day. Well, guess what? They're going home back to Columbus, the Day family. He told his son, Dash, he goes, look on the bright side. We get to go home early, but you got to feel for Rory McIlroy and Jason Day, 2 of the game's greats, and that just goes to show you why this is the toughest sport in the world. Both of them missed the cut. What happened?
Well, I think, and it's not been talked a lot about because I don't think they want to talk about it a lot.
I know where you're going.
Both of them are still banged up a little bit. Jason Day started having back issues last year. I had to miss some time. He's not been the same since. And Rory McIlroy hurt a rib at some point early in the year. Missed 7 straight weeks. Came back for a week. Couldn't go and missed 2 or 3 more weeks. And came back here. Everybody wants to point a finger somewhere, and there's a line of thinking that these are 2 of the guys who work out hardest on the PGA Tour, in the weight room, in the gym. And there's more and more thinking that these guys are getting hurt because they're too, buff or whatever you want to call it. They are just, yes, they're bulked up and they look great. But as Tiger Woods proved to us, too much time in the weight room is not necessarily a good thing. And whether that was the direct cause this week for those 2 guys, I don't know. But when you see Jason Day shooting 80, you know something's not right.
Speaking of injuries, Danny Willett, who won the Masters in 2016, the back blew out. He's done. What happened there, Mike?
It's a recurring thing with him. He nurses it, and he's okay off and on. never know because they never actually tell you the truth. It sounded like this was fairly severe, and this may sideline him for a while. It's too bad. Obviously, he showed at the Masters last year. He can play, and he can play on the big stage. So we'll just have to see how long it takes him to come back.
Uniontown Herald Standard, get that and get online so you can read this man. You have to pay a few shekels, but definitely worth it. In my opinion, he is the best in the business, and you can hear him free every Saturday on the Golf Channel. So real quick before we get back to round two, I'm sure it's all U.S. Open tomorrow at 7 in studio?
Yeah, 95% of it. We're going to talk to Ron Whitten from Golf Digest. I was fortunate enough to get him. He was one of the 3 designers who designed Erin Hills. He's had a big interest in golf course architecture for a long time, and he got to know these guys, and when they got the contract for this place, they invited him to come along, and he's one of the designers of it. And it's pretty cool. He's been on my show before, and I'm looking forward to getting him too about there's a big amateur tournament going on up in Johnstown. It's a Sunny Hannah Amateur, and they have 4 or 5 of the top kids in the country. And they just had a kid yesterday shoot 60
Ooh.
in the second round.
Woo-hoo-hoo.
And that's certainly not a chip and putt contest up there. That's a big boy golf course, and he just was on fire. So we're going to talk a little bit about that too.
Hey, listen, my buddy, Dr. Vactor, who loves the game of golf, tomorrow at noon, and he's also going to be live on Facebook coming up Monday at 10. We talk about these wiry golfers, and that's what you see today, athletic type, and they seem to fare better as far as their health is concerned. But this Andrew Beef Johnston, the 6th hole, he just bombed the golf ball, didn't he?
He is one of those guys who's long, just like a lot of guys are out there, but he seems to have the extra gear. And I know a lot of these guys do, but everything about Beef seems to be magnified. He's a gregarious guy. He loves the fans. He talks to them out on the golf course, but he does possess a very long driver. And not, absolutely long, but he can hit the ball a long way. And, with that kind of length, and he also has a pretty good, rest of his game too. And, he's a guy who could win a major. Whether it's this one or not, that might be a little bit much. But, he's got a major type game. There's no doubt about that.
All right, let me ask you, is he a little bit like my man John Daly and obviously those great partnerships with our buddy, of course, Joe Hardy, 84 Lumbers? He kind of reminds you a little bit of him?
A little bit, but he's not, how do I say this nicely? He's not to that extreme.
He's a little more focused, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was fun early on, and he was kind of a, show all unto himself, but he could play.
All right.
And things started to go sideways, and now he's just pretty much a sideshow.
Well, I'm still a big fan of John Daly. Listen, I got to ask you a couple of more things. FS1, the ratings haven't been that great, but when I say take it easy, I mean, they're just kind of rolling into this golf thing. You've had people like CBS and others doing it for years, and they're great at it. And golf, I believe, is like nothing else because you really got to fill time, know your stuff, and be able to explain the game for people like me that aren't playing it on a regular basis but are thrilled by the drama that it brings. So give FS1 a break. And I think we all knew it would take a little while, but hopefully they will get it turned around soon. But you got to give them an A for effort, Mike.
Yeah, early on, the first couple years even, they weren't very good. And they had the wrong people in there, and they had people in the wrong places. And ironically, I guess it's 3 or 4 weeks ago now, I talked to Brad Faxon, who is one of the guys in the main studio out there, and he talked about it. And he said, "Yeah, I know what people thought. Can't say that I disagree with them because we weren't very good." He said, "But I get the impression now that with each show that we do and finish, we're getting much better, and I think we're ready to put on a good show." So we'll see. You're right. It's going to take them a little while, but the problem is people don't have a lot of patience.
No. All right, one other story. I got to talk about it, but I know that the USGA, they'll get it turned around. And, you just have to really wonder why, but I guess it is a story. E. coli, drinking water, 12 hole. What can you tell me about that?
Well, I just know what we saw, what's been released. That's about as that's about as bad as it can get. But I'm sure they have people from all over the place in there working on that to get that squared away quickly, because they got a big weekend ahead of them. They'll have 70 or 80,000 there for the next final 2 rounds, and they can't have that. I mean, it's not been a great start for Aaron Hills. They had the blimp, deflate and go down, and I just saw today that there was a spectator, a 94-year-old gentleman who died out there today. So hasn't been smooth on that part either. The golf's been good, but some of the golf stuff isn't going real well.
Hey, don't miss him tomorrow. Of course, the golf show, 93.7 The Fan. All right, last thing. I got to ask you, connotations, they use that word. I have a hard time even spelling it, but it's about trying to make a comparison to a links course. What do you make of this, Aaron Hills, and the connotation that it is a links course?
Well, I think you start by saying it's a links-like course. It has a lot of bumps and humps and dunes and that sort of stuff, and fescue. What it doesn't have is water. It has some wind, but there's no ocean there. And the other thing is that it makes it different than a links course is that on pretty much every hole on a links course, the golfer can run his approach shot up on the ground. He can bounce it in there. That's not the case at Aaron Hills. So it's links-like, and if you look at the overhead shots that they've been showing from the blimp for the last couple days,
right?
If you didn't know exactly where you were looking, you'd say, boy, that looks like a British Open course. And it does, the way, it's routed and everything, but it's not a true links course.
Ladies and gentlemen, he is a real journalist. Tomorrow, golf show, 93.7 The Fan. And Dr. Richard Rafferty and Robert Mangino will be hosting the Disc to the Pittsburgh Newsline. So do you mind if I pop in and see what's happening on your show tomorrow in the 7 o'clock hour?
I will be there, and you're more than welcome.
That's a great Father's Day weekend gift, I might add. And they got great stuff, too, for Dad at Dick's Sporting Goods and Golf Galaxy. And it's always good catching up with the best at what he does. He is a journalist, and he is also the host of the golf show, Saturdays at 7. Mike Dudurich, 93.7 The Fan. Hit him straight, Mike. Thank you so much. Good night.
All right, Rob. Thanks for having me. Bye.